What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and today I want to decipher an article that came out recently from The Gamer, which has been very eye-opening to say the least. So in this video, I'll cover the state of gaming in 2023, the best highs and the lowest of lows, and a few stories I seem to have missed, and later on I'll talk about the Unity Backlash. Which, if you don't know about that one yet, let's just say you thought things were bleak now, just you wait. To begin, let's look at the article in question titled, 2023 has been a horrible year for gaming. Of course, right from the get-go, the title sounds clickbaity, but the more you dig into the article, the more it justifies its name. Also, it's from Stacey Henley, who I usually disagree with on almost everything, so credit where it's due, you did good for once. While I won't be talking about this article point to point, I want to instead use it as inspiration for a larger discussion, and how it paints a picture of the gaming industry being full of rot and really bad and bizarre choices. I'll leave a link in the description to the article if you'd like to read it yourself. And yes, I hear you saying, what about games like Baldur's Gate or Zelda? And remakes like Resident Evil 4? Surely this is a good year, no? I won't argue with you, dear viewer, there has definitely been quite a few bangers this year released already. But that's not the point of this article nor this video, it's much more than that. You see, modern gaming may have quite a few wins this year, and sales are at an all-time high as well. But it's the underlying, almost simmering problems that this article delves into. While yes, we've had amazing releases, there's been a very human cost behind the scenes when it comes to making these experiences. We're seeing the gaming industry, particularly that of the AAA space, becoming an insanely volatile battleground these past few years. There doesn't seem to be many in-between scenarios when it comes to the biggest of releases. You either release a game that wins everything like Baldur's Gate, or you crash and burn like Saints Row's reboot did, which tanked the entire studio. We also oftentimes see publishers and studios post very damning and concerning news around big new releases, hoping that the glitz and glamour will blind the public to the rot beneath. When Baldur's Gate 3 released, it was a talk of the town, and really it still is. It actually surpassed new releases like Starfield already on Steam's top charts in terms of sales. Larian is obviously lavishing in the might of its amazing game, and the original Baldur's Gate games were actually made by BioWare in the past. Yet during its release, EA also announced BioWare would be laying off employees, with 50 devs being axed out of nowhere without anyone at the studio even being aware of it until it was too late. EA and BioWare's management said this was done to make the studio a more agile and focused team. BioWare's general manager Gary McKay said this: "In order to meet the needs of our upcoming projects, continue to hold ourselves to the highest standard of quality, and ensure BioWare can continue to thrive in an industry that's rapidly evolving, we must shift towards a more agile and more focused studio." One of the people who was let go was BioWare veteran Lucas Chris Jansen, who worked there for 25 years and was one of the original writers of Baldur's Gate. He was also the mastermind behind characters like Minsk in Baldur's Gate, who returns in 3, and Joker from the Mass Effect series. Honestly, the layoffs at BioWare hurt me personally because they're one of my favorite studios. Dragon Age and Mass Effect are some of my favorite series of all time. It's likely why I love games like Baldur's Gate 3 so much. And if you love the Witcher games, remember that it was BioWare who helped CD Projekt Red get on their feet way back in the day. And BioWare, while promoting Jade Empire, gave the newly formed CD Projekt Red some of their booth space at conventions to promote their little game called The Witcher. So to see such a veteran studio axe so many people, it hurts me. It sucks, dude. It really sucks. This is also the year the console wars exploded to new insufferable heights, with Microsoft and Sony both attempting to undermine each other when it comes to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, with Sony CEO Jim Ryan even openly stating that he knows that publishers privately hate the concept of Xbox Game Pass, and they find its existence to be extremely harmful to the quality and longevity of many video games, with Jim Ryan saying it's a very commonly held view by publishers, who find Game Pass to be value destructive. And regardless of how many great games came out this year, we can't ignore how many launched busted or unplayable at release either. It seems while the quantity of games has never been higher, the quality keeps diminishing across the board with some exceptions. It's honestly pathetic that stating Armored Core 6 ran beautifully at launch and never crashed for me once during my entire playtime is not common but an anomaly when compared to other games this year. Then there's Diablo 4, which is a lost cause, mired in the corporate strangleholds of live service nonsense and predatory practices. And it does not fill me with confidence that Microsoft might acquire them either. With Xbox's head Phil Spencer saying stuff like game sales are as important to Xbox's Game Pass, and that Xbox cares about selling their games even though Game Pass eats into potential sales of those games. And it's a bizarre statement to have when earlier this year Microsoft openly admitted that the existence of Game Pass is absolutely destroying the sales profits of actual games on their platform, and that games that launch on Game Pass see a decline in sales for at least a full year after release. With analysts over at GameIndustry.biz even saying Phil Spencer's comments directly oppose what he said back in 2018. And I can already hear the keyboards and phones clicking as people say, I'm a PlayStation fanboy, so okay, let's look at what they're doing too. Currently, about 40% of Sony's entire research and development funds on PlayStation are being used to develop live service games, which I absolutely hate with a burning passion. Sony will be spending around 300 billion yen with that fiscal year period ending in March 2024. And 40% of that is for potential future games to emulate the success stories of things like Destiny or Fortnite. While this may make some happy, it fills me with nothing but disdain. Sony isn't known for live service games. Their strengths lie in their quality single-player experiences. I love games like Ghost of Tsushima, but I don't want an always online game that's set in that world. We have enough games already that are designed to waste your time with pointless fetch quests, grindy structures, and annoying concepts like multiple forms of currency. God, I hate it when games do that. One game I really enjoyed this year was Final Fantasy XVI, but I firmly believe one of the worst parts of that game was its side quests. Because too many of 16's side quests were just walk here, talk to this person, now run for 2 minutes to talk to this person, only to turn around and run another minute over here to talk to another person. I was baffled by how a single-player AAA Final Fantasy game that is console exclusive to PlayStation would have quests this shitty in them. Then I found out the reason why the side quests suck in 16 is because they were made by the Final Fantasy XIV team. You know, the big MMO a lot of people play. I don't play 14, not because I don't like the game, but because it's an MMO. I have as limited time as it is already to play games when it comes to YouTube videos and doing real life stuff. I'm a one-man show over here on my couch with a laptop and 2 dogs who are constantly vying for my attention. Not to mention having a girlfriend and having to feed that thing so it doesn't turn into a werewolf that kills you. So the thing I hate more than anything in games besides microtransaction hellscapes are games that deliberately go out of their way to just waste my time. And that's what 16 side quests are. They were designed by MMO developers to pad the game out, and it shows. 16 isn't alone in this either, since on the other side of the pond you got Starfield, which is a constant loading screen simulator where you can search empty planets of nothing. Neither of these games, which are both from the biggest companies in gaming, entice me with their game designs. And unfortunately, it seems like the MMOization of video games is quickly becoming the norm, and it's leading to too many games becoming bloated and overstaying their welcome. Sure, I platinumed Final Fantasy XVI, sure I enjoyed its combat and story, but dear God was its side content bland as hell. And it makes me worried for future releases like 7 Rebirth. I pray that game's side quests do not have 16's design. And I also pray that the industry takes the right lessons from releases like 16, Starfield, or huge misfires like Redfall. Sure, gaming has been quite good this year, but I'll be damned if I don't admit that more than ever before, I feel like these games are just wasting my time on purpose, and it sucks. And because of the absolute state of how expensive, long, and risky AAA gaming has become, pretty much every big release this year outside of maybe Armored Core 6 feels like they are all the same. They're all big games with big worlds with lots of content of varying qualities that either don't work at release or give you nothing and expect praise in return. Honestly, the one game this year that seems to be the best of all worlds is Baldur's Gate 3. It's the only game I think I've played all year where I genuinely don't feel like it's wasting my time. And Chained Echoes, but that didn't come out in 2023, but I digress. Okay, and Armored Core 6 as well. And it's one of the only games I've played this year anyway where it feels like the devs didn't compromise in any way of significance. As much as Final Fantasy XVI was fun to play, I would hardly even call it an RPG, since it's more an action game, and despite it showing numbers on enemies when I hit them, there's no actual real RPGing to be had with it, which is weird for a game set in a franchise all about that stuff. Too many games this year have been removing features we loved in previous games. From 16's lack of RPG elements, Starfield being called mid and chopping up its open world into smaller segments instead of a seamless experience like say Skyrim before it, or games like Jedi Survivor, which felt like it couldn't properly render the biggest core area in the game when compared to other smaller areas. There's a lot of smaller cuts in games these days that keep building up until they become massive gaping wounds. And although it might sound like I'm meat riding at this point, honestly, besides Baldur's Gate, there hasn't been much this year that feels absolutely feature complete in every conceivable way. You have stuff like Destiny 2 Lightfall, which was ass cheeks. And it absolutely felt like it was wasting my time constantly. Even the final shape showcase didn't fill me with much confidence either, since it looks like another classic example of modern gaming refusing to over-deliver because these studios don't want to set game expectation patterns in the future. The fact that the shitstorm surrounding Baldur's Gate surpassing expectations caused the ruckus it did is honestly pathetic in my opinion, where the customers and the publishers are each after very different scenarios, and it's annoying to see it keep happening. And while record profits are being made, around 1,600 game developers have lost their jobs this year alone. That's like 3 Larian Studios worth of developers being axed across the industry, with most of these cuts from Xbox and Microsoft. And then of course things like E3 have officially died this year too. What was originally the biggest gaming event of the year where I would sit down and eagerly anticipate all the cool reveals, it's now gone. Now it's replaced by smaller shows like Summer Games Fest and others, but nothing compares to shitting my pants when something I could never imagine being revealed. And losing things like E3 and devs losing jobs is sadly on brand for 2023. Because even though these corporations are making gangbusters, they're tightening their wallets, spending and throwing the people who make these things a reality into the abyss like they're nothing. And more than ever, publishers are greedier than before. Just look at the newly released NBA 2K24, which is being considered one of the most predatory modern games this year, and that's saying something. Just look at this product page that I took a screenshot of on my PS5. In what reality is it okay that a game have the option to buy $200 worth of virtual currency at release? This shit is baffling, dude. Look, I won't play this game for obvious reasons, but just reading reviews makes my head hurt. I just want to read part of a review from realsport101.com. Also, to make sure you know beforehand, basically these sports games have what is considered character levels basically. They're called OVR, or overall rating. Basically, the higher your OVR, the better your team is, I guess. Alright, and I quote, "For veteran 2K players, microtransactions are nothing new. It's been a couple of years since my career the city became pay to win. That's because there was no way to reach a 99 OVR without spending money in the game. In recent years, it became normal for players to spend a couple $100s on VC to evolve their character. This leads to players having an 85 OVR or higher rated character on day 1, while others only have a 60 OVR player. It's much easier to just spend $200 and evolve your card than having to play hundreds of games to reach your desired rating. But that not only takes the fun out of the game, it also creates a gigantic gap between free-to-play players and pay-to-win ones. Unfortunately, this trend continues, and if you want to be competitive in the Park or Pro-Am, you need to spend money. There are no two ways about it, either you spend money or have fun playing with your 75 OVR player versus 90 plus rated characters. Yes, my team was already pay to win in previous editions, but nothing like this. With the auction house now gone and the introduction of the player market, where every card has a specific price, the prices of players have skyrocketed. Instead of having to open packs, now players can simply head into the player market and acquire the card they want. A spectacular LeBron James card came out, no problem, simply buy $100 of microtransactions and purchase that card from the player market. Oh, and don't worry, because in less than 1 month, there will already be better cards out there. The Season Pass also became a new way for 2K to make money. Players now have 2 premium passes they can buy, which offer many more rewards than the free pass. Furthermore, players can also pay to skip levels on the Season Pass. For a modest amount of $53, players can reach level 40 of the Season 1 Battle Pass in less than 60 seconds, and without having played a single My Team game, end quote. Jesus Christ, I don't think I need to read anymore to convince you that all of this is garbage, and the game on Steam is currently one of the lowest rated on the entire platform. The version of 2K24 is also not next-gen on PC apparently, and it also lacks improvements compared to previous releases and has limited crossplay options. It's currently sitting at the 2nd worst reviewed game on Steam, with Overwatch 2 still claiming the top spot. However, even though the game as of the making of this video has been out for only 5 days, in its first 3 days on Steam, over 100,000 people bought the game anyway, with that number likely much higher on platforms like PlayStation, which is where games like this thrive, unfortunately.
Don't ask questions.
And you know what's funny? During this entire segment about NBA 2K24, I've been using footage of NBA 2K23 as well, and you likely couldn't even tell the difference, and that's why this shit is so ass, because this is what makes money, and they're barely even trying anymore. And it's yet another major release designed to absolutely waste your time and money and treat you like a cash cow instead of a human being. So while we have some great releases that actually value your time and money coming out this year, the greediness of these corporations are hitting an all-time high as well. Sure, over 1,600 developers lost their jobs and games are wasting our time and money like never before. But even though this year has evidently been one of the best years in gaming release-wise, it saddens me to see these things still being prevalent. And the subscription servicing and nickel and diming doesn't end there, folks. It's now time to talk about this next major misfire now. The Unity engine is used primarily by indie game developers when making their games. But now the company behind this engine has decided they're gonna start taxing game dev studios every time a game using their engine gets sold. This charging won't start till a game has made over $200,000 in revenue. But once it does, Unity will charge studios and devs as high as 20 cents a download afterwards directly from the developers' wallets. Gary Newman, who made Gary's Mod, which uses Unity, had some things to say. Unity can just start charging us a tax per install. They can do this unilaterally. They can charge whatever they want. We have to trust their tracking. And Unity's president, Mark Whitten, said the reason they're doing this is, we want to make more money so that we can continue to invest in the engine. Yeah, of course, it's totally not that Unity shareholders realize they can enact this law, and now retroactively earn almost 20 cents per download on literally thousands of games that use their engines right now. The Guardian's article also brings up some good questions due to this logistical nightmare, like, several developers have pointed out logistical problems with the charge. Will developers be charged each time a player reinstalls the game on a new piece of hardware? And how will this affect developers whose games end up on a subscription service such as Xbox Game Pass or charity games collections such as Humble Bundle? And one consultant said if you're a Unity developing studio, good luck if you ever piss off your user base. Instead of tanking your Metacritic with a mass review campaign, they can now straight up tank you financially by organizing a mass install campaign. Oh my god, I never even thought about this. Wait, what? Oh my god. There's a potential scenario. Oh, wow. Okay. So there's a scenario here. Let's say if a developer pisses off their player base with literally anything. Say they nerf a build or the game doesn't run well, whatever. The people who bought the game could in theory delete the game, re-download it, then delete it again, only to download it again. And as many times as this happens, let's say an entire pissed off community does this, Unity would then charge this hypothetical studio every time it's downloaded or re-downloaded. One game dev openly said, albeit jokingly, hopefully, that people should not install their game. And they also said to not download the demo for their game either, since technically a demo being downloaded is still downloading the game. Do you understand how much potential money could be lost if, say, thousands of people try to download a demo to try a game made in Unity? You're probably going to see Unity-made games delist their demos outright. Which is anti-consumer to you, sure, since now you can't try it before you buy it, but can we even blame the devs for this? Not really. Wait a second, what games are made in Unity? Hollow Knight is? So they can retroactively charge Team Cherry for every download of the game across every platform now? Holy crap. Pokemon Go and Call of Duty Mobile both use Unity too. And they're free to play on phones. Holy crap. They just found a new predatory low to feed off of others now. This is really bad. Dude, this could kill a studio and any potential new ones. Are we really letting this happen? What if Epic Games does this with the Unreal Engine? Then what? They own Fortnite, and many games you likely play use Unreal too. So every time someone downloads Fortnite, PlayStation has to pay Epic, and so on and so on? This is such a slippery slope. If this story alone doesn't tell you where the future we're moving towards is bad, I don't know what else will. This is insane. We're seeing the industry go from pushing fun games to becoming a microtransaction subscription hellscape in real time. Now not only will games nickel and dime you at every conceivable opportunity, but if this Unity thing goes through, you bet your butt cheeks any game made with Unity will now cost way more money up front. And it's not because the devs are greedy, but because they need to ensure the buying price is high enough to offset any potential payment requirements from Unity. So in a way, dear viewer, if this does go through, you're getting screwed in the end. You'll be paying more for something you have no way of changing if this becomes the norm industry-wide. I don't even want to think about the copycat ramifications that could come about this. It would be a future where games are bought while pushing subscriptions onto customers, who will have to pay subscriptions to studios who pay subscriptions to platform holders and engine owners, which will just screw us all over in the end. But video games, my friends, aren't you having fun? Isn't it wonderful to be alive in the year that is 2023? But for now, that's definitely enough. As you can see, while we are having a record-breaking year of profits and releases, the grime underneath is building and mutating into new forms of god-awfulness before our very eyes. Please don't let these things become the norm, but as of now, this is the absolute state of gaming today. So let me know what you think in the comments below, like the video to help the channel out, and subscribe for more in the future. Have a great day, hopefully you could enjoy some gaming, and I will see you in the next one.